What if I told you there was a $1 billion industry silently happening in the real estate market? Would you be curious to know what it was? It's almost a silent industry, and the money's going to the government, just to be clear who's actually getting the money. And it's happening at the end of the transaction. And in the city of Toronto, we pay double land transfer tax. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tom Storey. I make educational real estate videos about the city of Toronto. And if you like this video, all I ask is you give it a thumbs up, or if you learn something new in this video, I'd appreciate that like. Also, if you haven't joined our growing community, we are almost at 7,000 subscribers. This channel has grown so much in 2022, and I want to thank all of you for being a part of this community. At the end of this video, if you have any questions for me or want to connect with myself or anybody else on my team, you can go into the first link in the description. You can book a buyer call, a seller call, or discovery call to chat about the market. All right, let's get into this. Now, if you purchased recently, you're probably like, Tom, I know exactly what you're talking about. It sucks because I actually had 2 buyer consultations this morning, and both of them, about halfway through the consultation, I said, hey, do you know what your land transfer tax is going to be? And they said, oh no, what's that? We've never heard of it. And when I tell them the number, they're shocked because it's cash on closing. And other than your down payment and your deposit, which is part of your down payment, when you buy a property, there's pretty much 2 other main fees, right? There's lawyer fees and there's land transfer tax. And in the year 2008, the city of Toronto decided that they wanted to bring in a second land transfer tax because in the province of Ontario, you have a municipal land transfer tax. So you buy a property anywhere in Ontario and you pay that amount of money. But we're Toronto, right? So we pay double. So we pay a municipal tax and a provincial tax together, and they add up to a whopping amount of money. And in 2021, the city of Toronto brought in over $1 billion of revenue from this one income source. All right, so I want to show you a chart that showed the last few years of revenue for land transfer tax, and we're going to go over it together because this was shocking to me. I'd actually thought about this like a year ago when 2021 was happening and things were going crazy. I was like, the city's going to make $1 billion this year from land transfer. And it looks like my rough calculations were pretty accurate. So if you take a look at this chart here, it shows going back to 2009 because land transfer was brought in at the end of 2008, how much money was earned. And till about 2015, it was under 500 million, which is still a good chunk of change, obviously, for the city and for the budget. Then 2016, 2017 was one of those record years where things cooled down after because we brought in the stress tests, we brought in rent control, we brought in the Fair Housing Act. 2018, 2019, 2020, you're sitting there, I would estimate that's probably around $750 million. Check out how much money they made in 2021. Well over $1 billion from one income source. And he had put out this tweet that's essentially saying that if the city cares so much about affordable housing, why do they want a ton of real estate transactions to still happen? And the reason why is because look at the amount of money it's coming into the city's budget, that it's proven to be such an unreliable revenue stream. Okay, so that last comment about it being an unreliable revenue stream, I would actually argue that's not the case. It's been way more than they ever anticipated. The revenue stream has been unreliable in a good way. They never anticipated that prices would maybe get to this level this fast. And the way that it's broken down as to how much money you're spending, and I'll do some actual math with you on this video in a second here and show you based on different price points what it would cost you and what's the maximum you can even save as a first-time home buyer. All right, so let's run some numbers together, okay? So this is a mortgage calculator on my website. You can check it out if you want. Just go to storeyteam.ca and click on resources. So let's say an asking price of $500,000, okay? Now we're going to scroll down here. We're going to look right around here. So if you were to buy in the city of Toronto and you were not a first-time home buyer, your land transfer tax would be $12,950. Now again, this is cash on closing. Half of it goes to provincial. So that is like if you bought anywhere in Ontario, that's what your land transfer tax would be. But it's doubled because there's also municipal tax. Now, if you are a first-time home buyer and you click this button right here, you will get the full maximum credit. So the most amount you can get off land transfer tax if you're a first-time home buyer, whether you're spending $500,000, $1 million, or $10 million, is $8,475, which on this price point seems reasonable. It actually takes me to my next thing I wanted to show you here. So if you see just below me here, that $379,000, that was in year 2008. That was when land transfer became a thing. Okay, so this tax came in where the average price in the city of Toronto was $379,000. So let's go back here and go $379,000. And if you're a first-time home buyer, your land transfer tax essentially would have been $160. If you're not a first-time home buyer, it would have been $8,000. That seems a bit more reasonable. I don't think they thought prices were going to grow to what they are today so rapidly. When this tax initially came into place in 2008, there was a lot of people against it, specifically actually the real estate community, saying this doesn't make sense. This isn't going to help affordability because it's going to make it even more expensive to move, right? Because selling a property with realtor commissions, let's be fair, that costs money too. And then buying a new property and paying land transfer again, why would people move when it costs that much money unless they really needed to? And now we're getting to a point this year because in 2021, Toronto sales numbers were up almost 30% from 2020. But you know what? In 2022, there's a chance they're down 30% from 2021. So that's going to be seen significantly in the amount of money and revenue that our city is generating through land transfer tax. So that's it. That is the city of Toronto's $1 billion real estate secret that no one openly talks about. And I think it's kind of sneaky. Like, they put it at the end of the transaction. I'm hoping that every single buyer that bought a property was educated on what this land transfer tax was, because if not, man, that's going to be something scary to learn as you're getting to the closing table and you're meeting with the lawyers. The city of Toronto does have lower property taxes because if you raise property taxes, there would be an outroar, but land transfer tax kind of happens behind the scenes. No one talks about it. $1 billion in 2021. The city of Toronto's budget, I think last year was like $13 billion. So this represents 1/13 of the city's budget. But I don't know. I'd love to know what you think about it. Did you learn something new today? Did you realize land transfer tax, just the municipal side in Toronto, was bringing in $1 billion a year? Well, at least in 2021. If so, I'd love to know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, my name is Tom Storey, and remember, home is where your story begins. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. You can learn more about the Storey Team at storeyteam.ca. We also have a weekly podcast called The Tom Storey Show, with new episodes each Sunday. If you'd like to book a call directly with Tom, you can do that via the first link in the description.